Hello, it's Dr. Wendy Rowley. This is what you can do now for your personal evolution in the new energy, and this is episode 11. I like very beautiful pictures on my thumbnails. It's just me, I'm a bit of an artist. I like making those, and so I use numbers, and occasionally I get the numbers wrong, but I do the best I can so that you know if you're in the right episode, because I don't change that picture all the time. I just change the title of it. The title of this is The Beginning of a New Paradigm. The Beginning of a New Paradigm. All right, let's see what Aliania has to say about that. Ooh, good day to you, dearest beings of light. It is Aliania of Cosmic Service, a Pleiadian Mother of Sound. Peace be with you, and peace be with you. The new paradigm that she is speaking about is coming in over the next 12 years. We've spoken about the new divine feminine coming in. We've spoken about upgrades for women's intuition, knowing, and Christ healing abilities. We've spoken about how the divine feminine comes in and goes through levels of creation for 25, 26, 24, 25, and 26. And then in 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29, it comes online to a level where you feel it because it's now beginning to percolate into your spirit body. And it's an energy that is beautiful, uplifting, and enhancing. And that's the beginning of a new paradigm. But what happens after that? After the divine feminine is upgraded at the shift change time of a planetary system like you're in, as we say it from our techie terms, there is more healing that goes on at the group level. There are more upgrades that go on at the group level. But one of the most fascinating things that goes on is that your old system of having an incarnation, going out of a body at the end of life and coming back into an incarnation, which some people call past lives, but they're not really past because you're quantum and there is no time in that place and space. So they're ongoing in a way all at once. We like to say it's like you are a web coming out from your soul, going through all time and space. And it's not linear. But, and we're going to boldly speak about incarnations because as this one learned in doing a paper on world religions at one point when she was in school, that more than 85% of the world believes in the continuity of consciousness, and they used the term reincarnation in the older days. It's now been sort of upgraded to living incarnations or lifetimes or continuous incarnations. And it's the idea that your consciousness is eternal, and it is. So one of the fascinating things that happens at the shift change time is that whole paradigm changes. The way that it used to be when you would pass away is changing. And the way it's going to be when you incarnate in your very next lifetime is changing. So what is changing in that? It used to be that, now people use the word karma for, sort of the not great things you did, and that you then have vibrate back to you so that you learn. We like to think of it not as karma, but as your less light-filled creations. And we like to use the metaphor of light because it's not as heavy as the word karma, which has a lot of scary connotations to it based on what people have written in the past. So if you've had lifetimes that were more light-filled and some that were less light-filled, when you used to pass away, there were two levels that you could go to in consciousness. Partly, part of you goes directly up to the soul, to the love of the Creator, to that place that you have in many metaphors and many religious systems that they use the term heaven for. This one was really amazed when she found this wonderful place up way, way high in the seventh chakra in another kind of an area there. And it felt really good. And she did some mining of the Akashic records and found out it was literally called heaven. And it's a place where your higher self meets cosmic energy. And she was reflecting on an ancient master who said, "My father will meet you in heaven." She was like, "Hey, they used to call the cosmic energy the Heavenly Father." Isn't that fascinating? But I don't know if that's what the reference was to, but a fascinating aside. So you had an area that you could go out of through the third chakra, and you could go on a lower wheel of your karmic akash. And then as you evolved and clear and had more incarnations, you can go out of the back of the throat when you pass away, and you can go on to an upper wheel on the human crystalline grid in the karmic akash. Well, we're saying the less light quotient filled akash. And there's a reason for that. For then in your next incarnation, you bring in the force of the soul and the love and all the spiritual things that you've learned, but you also bring in a piece of the things you need to shift, change, and adjust regarding consciousness and feelings about yourself and feelings about others. And that's the way the system was designed. But at the great shift, it changes. The lower karmic wheel of going out the back ends, and there's an upgrade to the system. So now it's going to take another bunch of years for all these things to get into place. But now it will be that you either go out the back of the throat to the upper wheel, the more light field wheel of the human consciousness grid, to your less light field part of your soul, which can be in a lot of places at once. So a segment of your soul goes into that to await the next incarnation, so it can bring that in to be healed and learned. And then the other doorway that will now be open is you can go directly up and go to the golden akash of the human consciousness grid. And that's new. And what happens if you come back into an incarnation where you've gone straight up because you've maybe cleared this part of your upper level of the less light-filled creations of your higher self's experiences on the earth, because your inner Taurus, as we say many times, is your higher self's incarnations on the earth. And you get to a point where you take in, you take in, you take in, and then you get to a point where you heal out, heal out, heal out. And that's kind of the wave of the incarnational process. And it's a learning curve. And it's purposeful, and it keeps kind of a system of checks and balances on the creating of Earth. And so the old one, as we said, is going off, and people will either go out through the back of the throat and go onto the upper wheel, which is more of a consciousness shifting thing than it is a heart field thing. It's more consciousness shifting. And then, or you can go straight up and go to the golden akash. And if you reincarnate and you're coming in with part of the golden akash, what is that like? So you brought in your soul forces with the divinity and the light and the healing and the connection to the divine that's out at the periphery of the planet, as we've mentioned, where you first come in and you hook into the planet. So at the end, that's where people go, "Oh, so nice, I can feel." Those people have past life death experiences, as people call them. We would like to say in-between incarnation experiences is a more accurate way to say them. We spoke about that on one of the other YouTube videos recently in either Heart Field Evolution or even this series, because they're the two most recent ones that are going on. Well, you would come into an incarnation and you would still have some light quotient stuff and lessons, of course, because you're going to have those all the way through the system until you become an enlightened planet, millions and millions and millions of years ahead. But you will now come in a dual way. You will come in with things to learn, but you will also come in a little bit more with a higher purpose and mission, where you are a little bit of what's called an instrument of evolution. And you will be able to bring in maybe ideas and inventions and things of that nature that are helpful overall to everyone. So in the past, that level of divine intelligence percolating into humans, where inventions and ideas come from, and what you do with them and how you use them is up to you, whether they're for the best and highest good of all. I think the atom bomb is a good example of maybe that wasn't such good use of things. And this one's very concerned about all the nuclear weapons everywhere. A lot of people are, including the leaders who have their fingers on the button, because that's kind of a very dangerous thing. So that's an aside. But so these things come to humanity at a time where they're also on the verge of learning that maybe that's not for the best and highest good. So maybe you're in that learning curve now. So when you come in off the golden Akash, you come in being able to percolate these higher inventions and find groups who also came in through that level who won't be using them for the wrong purposes. And that's purposeful at the shift of a planetary system, because the great shift is about not going back into an old energy. It's about not repeating the old mistakes. It's about not trying to do things in the same way that don't work for the best and highest good of all. So that's a fascinating thing, a very far out thing, excuse us. And it's also part of the great shift, and it's a benevolent thing. It's like a benevolent upgrade that you all are getting. So we'll talk a little bit about that in the next episode, because this was a lot to contemplate just in this one. See you next time.